I like it. Looks good. All right, let's pause the music just for a second here. Unchained Melody. Sorry, we got to move on. Okay, we're still going to have people pouring into the room, so you might hear me restate a few things. But guys, I'm super excited that you're here. This is the 7-day total mind and body reset. This is the kickoff live Zoom event. If you guys are here live, you're in for a special treat. If you're watching on recording, you guys will get something out of it. But my invitation to you is that if you're watching this live or on recording, especially if you're on recording, be with me, respond in real time, because when you engage, you're going to retain more information and you're going to get into an empowered state, which we're going to talk more about in a second. If we haven't met before, my name's Ryan. I'm a coach. I've been a coach for 15 years. I've helped over 2,500 people achieve sustainable change in health, body transformation, athletics, business, peak performance, mainly in body transformation, mainly in psychology, which we'll talk about. But today I'm going to share the secrets that make it all last. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I want us all to think about, I'm going to go through some principles. And these principles are probably the 5 to 8 most important things that I've seen have a noticeable impact on the quality of people's lives. And what I hope to be able to do is not just tell you these things, but also give you the evidence to back it up. So here's the first thing. Everything in body transformation and life that I believe we want to achieve is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. Who's heard me say that before? Anybody? 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. Let me know in the chat. Let me know with some thumbs up. Anyone? Okay, Danielle, thanks. Appreciate it. So what that means is essentially psychology is going to be the thing that keeps us going. Mechanics are going to be the actual things that get us there. Now, if we can think if this is true, we can just ask ourselves based on our own experience. Who's ever started a weight loss journey before? Hands up. Anyone? Anyone out there? Thanks, Spring. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, of course. Who's ever quit before? Hands up. Hands up. Yes, right. We all have. Ask the question, why did we quit? The answer, it's rarely about strategy. We can say to ourselves, no, but it was the strategy. You see, I was doing the actions and I wasn't getting the result. And because I wasn't getting the result, I quit. But ask yourself, was it the strategy that quit or was it you that quit? It was us. And why did we quit? Because of something emotional. We felt bad. You see, if we can master the psychology, if we can master the mind, the body will follow. Because if we have the right psychology, what is the psychology of a person who always gets their goal? Think about somebody in your life right now. Think about somebody who just, man, they always find a way. Do they have better mechanics? Sometimes they have a better strategy, but other times it's how they're approaching it. They have certain belief systems. They have certain ways of looking at the world that makes them always follow through and win. Think about it. If you have somebody who, if they don't get what they want and they stop, that's a certain type of person. Somebody else that doesn't get what they want, what do? They change their approach. But what if they still don't get what they want? Well, they change their approach again. And what happens if they still don't get what they want, but they have the right psychology, they know what they want, it's really important to them, and they know that they're going to find a way eventually because of their belief systems, which we'll be getting into in a second. What happens? Well, they change their approach. But what if they fail again? 3 times in a row, they failed. It hurts. What does this person do? They change their approach. Magic formula. Until eventually they get what they want. But the reason we stop is because of our emotions. So a lot of what we're focusing on here is mastering our emotions. Don't worry, we're going to be talking about mechanics too, but we're going to be getting to emotions. Now, if we're thinking about the most common emotional pattern that we see, it's usually called the crazy 8 pattern. And this is why most people are stuck. Let me know if this sounds familiar to anybody out there. We, in the past, not now, because we've grown since this, right? But in the past, we're going through life and eventually we just hit a breaking point. Enough is enough. We throw our hands in the air. We say, no more sugar. We throw it in the trash. We say, I'm going to start working out 5 times a week. I'm going to start sleeping well. I'm going to take control. And we get angry and we get powerful. And that lasts for about 2 weeks or 2 months. And then what happens? Well, burnout occurs. You see, you can't keep a muscle flexed forever. And that anger we were in is lighting up our nervous system. But our nervous system needs variety and it can't stay there until eventually the crash happens and we let go. And that crash can be, this isn't linear, this isn't two-dimensional. There's a lot of different things happening. But that crash puts us into sadness, into a depression. So we shift from anger to sadness. And the Crazy 8 pattern doesn't have to last 2 weeks or 2 months. It can even be interweek, day to day. Has anyone ever experienced this pattern? I know I have. Hands up. Let me know in the chat. Use that chat right now. Let me know. Hey, I see Kim raising her hand. Can I get an amen? Can I get a hallelujah? Right? I mean, this is so common. I would say at least, 90-95% of the time, we've all been through this, or we wouldn't be here, right? We would all be like riding into the sunset already. So how do we fix it? What do we do to change? There's 3 core forces that determine our results. If you're taking note, write these 3 down because they literally shape your entire life. Yes, what we're talking about on a Zoom call can shape your entire life. The 3 things are 3 S's, so they're easy to remember. Story, strategy, and state. Look at those balloons pop up. That's nice. Story. Story is what we tell ourselves about ourselves. In short, it's our beliefs. We all have a set of stories. It's not just one story. We all had a set of stories. And the craziest thing about this is a lot of our stories come from our childhood, and we've never upgraded our story. And a lot of us are just living that same story. Sometimes it's a story that we didn't, and most times it's a story we didn't consciously choose. It's a story, a set of beliefs that other people put into our head. Now, if those are empowering, awesome. But if they're disempowering, not awesome. But the good news is you have the power to change it. Then we have our strategy. A lot of people start with strategy. Strategy is, okay, what do I got to do? What's the technique, right? Okay, how do I lose weight? What do I got? What are the workouts? What are the sets? What are the reps? How much water do I drink? How much fiber do I get in? Those are the strategies. And a lot of people start with strategy, but it's actually the least important part. It's necessary, but it's the least important part when you look at the big picture. And then the last piece is going to be your state. Your state is just another word to describe how you are, how you're feeling in the moment, right? Who's ever been in a certain state, an emotional state, where they feel proud or powerful, or they feel competent? Usually for a lot of our clients, they get that at work. Who feels pride or confidence at work? Anybody? Right? Who feels confident at work, right? And when you get to work, you're probably in an emotional state that is very nice, very confident. I hear this all the time with the women we work with. Man, I want my inside to match my outside, because when I go to work, I show up and I'm there and I'm ready and I lead and I take control. But in my own life, then or like in the inside, I feel kind of like I'm hiding away and I'm shy. The truth of the matter is, our emotional state dictates a lot of how we feel, and how you feel will determine what you do. So let's play this game really quick. I want everyone, and actually before we do this really quick, if you're looking for the easiest way to change your emotional state, if we know that your emotional state is going to lead to you wanting to do different things, right? Then we have to know how to change our emotional state. The easiest way to change your emotional state is with your body. If you're ever feeling discouraged, if you're ever feeling weak, if you're ever feeling like you just, what's the point? And you're feeling like you don't have any control, you have to have a radical change in your body, your physiology, to be able to make a change. And I'll prove it to you, right? Let's all do this together. In your seat, I want you to pretend that there is a person on the other side of a curtain. And I'm going to really quick, and I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to give you $1 million. It's a lot of money, $1 million. But I want you to show me in your body what this person is going to look like if you get it correct. This person behind this curtain is depressed. What does depressed look like in the body? Kind of looks like shoulders are scrunched over, head hanging low. Are we breathing shallow or deep? Shallow, right? We're kind of, what are we saying? We're kind of, I don't know. We're stuck in indecision, and we're talking slow. We kind of just, and even after doing that for just a couple of seconds, maybe a minute or two, you feel the emotion that goes along with your physiology. But at the same time, if we turn it around and we get your body moving, because emotion is created by motion, and you just get up for a second. We never make a decision from a lousy state. You get up for a second, you move, you walk, you get, you breathe, whatever it is, and you think about somebody who's excited just for a second. How is that person going to show up? Same person, but in one state they're disempowered, and one state they're empowered. If we can train our nervous system to get into a strong emotional state time after time, we can actually make habits way easier to follow through on. Who's with me? Does that make sense? Anybody out there? Cool. All right. Just want to make sure I'm not talking gobbledygook. So, excellent. Thank you for raising your hand, guys. I appreciate that. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we can do to shift that story. But when we think about story, what that really means is beliefs. Right now, there are beliefs that serve you, and there are beliefs that trap you. Who knows what I'm talking about? Even as I say this right now, can anyone identify some beliefs that serve them? I want you to take a second, just write down, what are beliefs that you have in your life? It doesn't have to be related to exercise for a second. I just want you to take a second and write down all the beliefs that you have that you think serve you in life. And if you've never done this before, it's probably going to take a little bit of digging. So I wrote down some for you as well. We're going to play a little bit of music. I'm going to give you guys 30, 20 seconds. And I just want you to write down some of the beliefs that you feel that serve you. Danielle, can you hear this?
Yes.
Nice. All right. Take a second, write it down. What are beliefs that serve you? And if you feel really compelled, let me know in the chat. What is a belief that serves you? Personally, not generally, one that you actually experience that serves you. Man, I haven't heard Kesha in like 5 years. That's funny. All right. So as we're here, let's go into the chat, and I want to read some of these with you guys. What are some beliefs that you feel that serve you? Kim says, one belief that serves me is I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. I love that. That's great. Catherine says, a serving belief. I'm able to solve a particular problem. I'd love to know even more about that. Natalie says, I'm worthy. Great one. Great belief, right? Michelle says, I'm good at my job. Exactly. Just for a second, let's unpack some of these beliefs, right? Somebody who believes that they're good at their job, how are they going to show up to work? Versus the opposite, somebody who shows up that doesn't believe they're good at their job. We know the answer. The person who, is showing up, believes that they can do well, is going to do better. We all know that. We've all experienced that. Jenny says she's done it. Why can't I? Beautiful. I love it. And we're going to get into the disempowering ones in a second. Bridget says, yes, our story can be our why, or our excuse. That's why we have to work on controlling our story. Definitely. Beautiful, guys. Such awesome ones. I love to see these in the chat. This is wonderful. You guys are really thinking here. This is beautiful. So we're going to dive into these a little bit more, but I just want to take a second and also, while it's fresh in our mind, hit the opposite. What are some beliefs that used to disempower you, or if you're being really vulnerable, currently disempower you and make it harder to get what you want. Let's take another 30 seconds, write those bad boys down. What are the beliefs that trap you? The beliefs that make it harder, that are headwinds, that slow you down from getting what you want. If you feel really compelled, you can share it in the chat. Ooh, you guys are good. I like these. I can't wait to dive into these. Ooh, yeah, these are good. I like this. Very nice. Oh, shit. This is good. Sorry. You might hear me swear a little bit from excitement. I apologize if I do. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. Excellent. And you guys can all see each other's messages, right? Cool. Good. I want to make sure you guys can see those too. All right, let's give it another 5 seconds here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's bring it down. Wow, yeah, good stuff, guys. A lot of good ones here. Wendy says, I'm too stressed to work on that right now. Amy said, I don't have energy to do anything. Kim said, I'm too old to get back in shape. Amy said, I'm not an active person. I can't control my emotions, Nat says. Work injury. This won't work. It never does. Catherine says, I don't have time. This is when I work on. Yes. Holly said, I've tried everything. Will this work? Joellen says, I failed before. I'll fail again. Bridget says, I have to get up so early to work out. Michelle says that, I'll never lose weight. I can't find the motivation and I'm so tired. Beautiful, guys. So, of course, these are foundational to how much action we take. Because look, focus controls our feeling. This is one to write down. If you're looking for something to write down. If you want to change how you feel, you have to change your focus. Because here's the truth. You can have, who believes that circumstances control their life? Anybody? Who believes circumstances control their life? Good. If I saw your hand up, I would slap that thing down and I would say, no way, right? Because let's think about it. Why is it that somebody can have the same things happen to them? You can have almost the same type of person. The same thing happens to them, the same struggles, the same injustice, whatever it is. And one person goes and lives an extraordinary life, which I just consider an extraordinary life, a life on your terms. And then you have one person that becomes a victim for the rest of their life, dies young and sick. How is it possible? In short, it's because what they chose to focus on. I'll give you an example. I had a client about 7 years ago. We all think we have problems until we encounter a real problem. Her child had leukemia. And seeing her go through this pain, hold on. It gets me emotional thinking about it. Woo! Hold on. Let me take a sip of water. Whenever I think I have problems, I think back to this client and the pain she was in with her child. Long story short, she lost her child. And I'm talking about a pain I didn't even know existed. And I now have a 3-year-old. I can't even fathom that level of pain. Why is it that somebody in her exact shoes can, we'll say in a disempowering way, look at that pain and say, life is unfair. It's my fault. I did this because of the food I gave him or the lifestyle I gave him. This is my fault. This woman lives in guilt for the next 20 years of her life, dies early, has no good experience of life, gets a divorce because she's just stuck in the pain and essentially just has a life that is terrible. Now, look, we could all look at that and say, well, of course, look at the pain she went through. But then you have my client, the one I worked with 7 years ago. This was really before I even knew a lot of this stuff. And what she did was she gave a different meaning to the experience. Yes, it was painful. But through that sorrow and through that grief, she said, I don't want anybody to feel this way. She started a foundation. She started counseling parents going through the challenge that, she went through. And from that, she's helped definitely dozens, hundreds upon hundreds of people through this, and it's given her life meaning. Does it make the pain go away? No. But pain is an absolute in life. Suffering is a choice. Suffering comes when we choose to stay in the pain and give a meaning that is not empowering. Who's with me on this? Does this make sense? Who can even see this in their own life? Who has had something happen to them that was probably not fair, but they chose an empowering meaning to it that made their life better? This is an empowering belief. Life is happening for me, not to me. If you're stuck in suffering, there has to be a new belief. And that is one that has served me dramatically. Life is always happening for me, not to me. And I'm not here to say, yeah, just install these beliefs and you're good. Bye. This is hard, but it's worth it because it leads to a life on your terms. Who's with me on this? Anybody? I like it. I see some hands. Good. I like it. Because here's the truth. Everything that happens to you can serve you. Everything that happens to you can be bad. It's your choice to determine. It's your choice to choose what that is. So beliefs that serve us, others have done it, so can I. Yes, life is always happening for me, not to me. No problem is permanent, pervasive, or personal. It's never a lack of resources, always a lack of resourcefulness. The beliefs that trap us, I've tried everything. My body and circumstances are different. My problem is permanent. It's pervasive. Pervasive just means that because my body isn't the way I want, all my life is terrible. That's not true. But that's what the brain does. It generalizes, distorts, and deletes. And because of that, it can make us feel worse than what is actually happening around us, or it's personal. Or I don't have the resources. This is a powerful one. I'm a huge believer that it's never a lack of resources. It's always a lack of resourcefulness, right? Who's ever done something that at first they thought it was impossible? Anybody? But it could be something financial, like, oh my gosh, I didn't have enough money to pay my rent. I didn't have enough of this resource to get through this thing, or I didn't have enough time. But guess what? If it was important enough, you found a way and you broke through. And that's what we're all doing here now, breaking through. So the power of questions controls our focus. If you ask a better question, you get a better answer. If you're writing things down, that is one to write down. If you ask a better question, you get a better answer. The quality of the questions in your life will determine the quality of your life because they direct your focus and shape your reality. Just like how disempowering questions do the same thing. Disempowering question might be, why can't I ever lose weight? If you ask a crappy question, your brain's going to come up with a crappy answer. Why can't I ever lose weight? You're a pig. Your body's different. Oh, it's the hormones. It's out of your control. There's nothing you can do. What's an empowering question? Well, if I were to lose weight, how could I make it enjoyable? If I were actually to lose weight, how would I do it? I know I have these challenges, but how would I do it? And that creates an opening, a wedge, where now you can think of something different. So disempowering questions, why can't I lose weight? Why do I always fail? Your brain will come up with answers and reinforce limiting thinking. Empowering questions, how can I make this enjoyable? What's one small step I can take today? Your brain will find solutions and possibilities. And here's the cool thing. You can actually have one guiding question. A guiding question that reminds you who you are, which we're going to talk a little bit about in a second. But I'd love to know, what are some empowering questions that you guys ask yourself? Write down. Think about the goal. We're going to get there in a second, but think about some empowering questions that would lead you in the direction of your goals. I'm going to give you 20 seconds to do it. Put on a little bit of tune, and then I'm going to ask for them in the chat. What are some empowering questions? If you guys came here for just fitness and nutrition, don't worry, we're going to get to it. But there's a lot more that helps us to stay the track. All right, let me know in the chat. What are some empowering questions? Jenny says, how can I change my workouts to get rid of the weight? I like it. Where do I want to be in 6 months? What's the best course of action? Christine says. Christine says, how can I improve myself? Holly says, how can I do today? What can I do today to get me healthier? Sarah says, how can I do better next time? Joellen says, how can I continue to lose weight while dealing with back pain? What will I stick to? How can I make a positive change? Ooh, what is my why? Great. We're going to get into that in a second. How can I carve out a few extra minutes? Yes. Very good. So we're going to speed this along a little bit. But yes, power of questions determines a lot of how we feel. Another thing that we should all know about is the pain pleasure principle. So as human beings, we're always going to move towards pleasure and away from pain. So if we think about the past and we think about why we probably stopped our exercise routine, it's because we got more pain than pleasure. And I'm not just talking about physical pain. I'm talking about emotional pain. Because if we're riding that crazy eight, what happens? Well, we're on the journey. We have a certain expectation. We're doing everything we think we should be doing. We know we should be doing. We don't see the result. That equals pain. And if you do that long enough, the brain says, what are you doing? Don't do this. Because you forget the pain in the future of inaction. And it just goes, let's go do this instead. And it starts to, essentially play the games. Well, I'll just do it later. It's not, my body's different. And it starts going into that rhythm. So we have to break that rhythm. And we do that by making sure that whatever we do is low pain, high pleasure, and also gets results. So you stay on the path. Now, we're going to breeze through this stuff really quick. There's something that I like to reference related to human need psychology. And there's 6 human needs. There's 4 base ones, 2, you could call them like of the spirit. But it's certainty, variety, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution. I'm a believer that human beings, and this is a little bit different than Maslow's hierarchy of needs, human beings will do anything to achieve their needs. If an action fulfills 3 or more needs, it becomes an addiction. Who's ever had a habit that they wanted to break? Logically, they knew it wasn't good for them, but they kept doing it. Anyone out there like me? That's happened with me a ton. For a lot of us here, it might be food, right? Oh man, I know I shouldn't, but it's so yummy. And it's right there. Just one bite, right? And the reason is because it can achieve our needs. And of course, this goes with the pain and pleasure as well, right? We think about something like food as a way of coping. It's low pain, energy conserving, and very pleasurable. It gives us certainty because we know how we're going to feel when we ingest it. It gives us a feeling of variety if it's something new or something we haven't had in a while. And it gives us connection. Even if it's not connection with others, it's connection with ourselves. Because in that moment, what happens when you eat? You calm down, your nervous system relaxes, your belly gets full, and you can let go. So every action that we want to change we should never, like, if we look at even addicts, for example, which usually we don't think of food as an addiction or video games an addiction. We think of alcohol and gambling, like, because they're so much more destructive. But really, any action that fulfills our needs can be an addiction. So here's the key. How do we make the good things that make us good things, right? The actions that will get us what we want, how do we make them addictions? We need to find ways to have them achieve our needs. I am addicted to exercise. Now, I know that everyone says, oh, good for you. That's great. You're addicted to exercise. Well, there's also a negative side to that. If I don't control it, I am always fucking tired because I'm training way too much. Now, of course, like, it's easy to be on the other side of the spectrum and say, yeah, I wish I had that problem. But you can. We just have to build you towards that. Now, I have less of an addiction than I used to, but still, it's there. I manage it. So we want to make our actions that will get us to where we want to go, achieve our needs, so they become pulling towards them. And we can't dive too deep into this because we don't have time. But I just want to lay the foundation. Identity, the strongest force in the human personality. If you are thinking about how people, no matter what, always find a way to exercise. Like, who knows a person, and maybe you are this person now, but who knows a person that they don't, no matter what, rain, sleet, snow, they're on vacation, they're, oh man, they're sick, whatever. They always find a way to exercise. Anyone know someone like that? Right? Some of you do. Some of you do. Who's that person? Right? We hate these people. Why? Why is it so easy for them? You know, why is this? Because it's who they are. If we think about the things that are our standards, who we are, the things we always do, just for a second, think about who you are for a second. What are the things that you always do? Are you always a high performer at work? You might be. Why? Because your identity is a nurse. Your identity is to take care of others. Do you always put others before yourself? Anyone here a martyr? That's because of our identity. Now, again, certain identities serve us. Others do not. We have to consciously choose identities that serve us. So we want to make sure that we essentially can choose identities, reinforce identities that help us, but that only comes from evidence, which happens over time. And if there's something you want to write down, which is really interesting, there's actually a formula for happiness. And I'm about to tell you what it is. Now, don't take my word for it. Look at your own life as I say it. But happiness comes from when your reality meets your core expectations. We all have a blueprint of what we believe life should be. We all have a blueprint that we created probably long ago. If life is how we believe it should be, we're happy. If it's beyond what we believe it should be, our core expectations, we're over the moon. Unhappiness stems from when our core expectations don't match our reality. And then, of course, that's when we go to change it. Suffering comes from when you feel like your core expectations are not being met and you're powerless to change it. That's where suffering comes in. And that's where the despair, the downward cycle comes in. The good news is, you and I both know you wouldn't be here if you believed this to be true. You can change it. You don't need to stay where you are. I'm a big believer, you can have everything in life you want. We just have to understand these pieces. So let's write some goals down. If we're thinking about our brain is like a heat-seeking missile. We need to give it a target. Because right now, what we're probably used to is, and this is what every human does, we focus on what we don't want. We focus on the pain, and that motivates us for a little bit, but it doesn't actually carry us through to what we actually desire. Because The brain is like a heat-seeking missile. And we talked about it before. If you focus on negative stuff, you're going to feel those emotions. If you focus on empowering things, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel empowered. And if we're talking about two people, somebody who's disempowered and somebody who's empowered, who's the person who gets to their goal? The person who's empowered or disempowered? Say it in the chat. Let me know. I'm looking. Disempowered or empowered? Who gets to the goal? Let me know. Somebody type it in. Empowered, 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 empowered. Yes. So we have to do everything in our power to stay empowered. So I want us to write down right now 3 things. We're going to start with 1. What do you want more than anything? Be as specific as possible. Let's get into it. We're going to play a little tunes. What do you want more than anything? Be specific if you can. Don't just write down, lose weight. What the hell does that mean? How much weight do you want to lose? What do you want? I want to be able to experience the confidence I had before I had kids. Okay? I want to be able to have the inner chatter stop. Because here's the truth. A lot of us are achieving certain goals because of what we think that goal is going to get us. But let's try to go as deep to the root as we can. What is the thing you want more than anything? Feel free to let me know in the chat as well. Jenny says to get rid of the extra weight in the FUPA. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to not judge my body. I like it. Let's get specific. The more we can get specific, the more powerful it will be. Write it down. What do you want? So right now, as you're writing, I'll just tell you a little bit of what's happening. We're creating pleasure. We're creating pleasure in your brain, right? Remember we said before, pain and pleasure, we have to go towards pleasure and away from pain. Right now, we're creating pleasure. So write it down. What do you want? Now, here's the thing. There's 2 ways we can do this. The first way is by writing it down and keeping it logical and keeping it in the head. The second way, which is way more powerful, is experiencing it in the body. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? It's like if I were to say right now, write down 3 things you're grateful for. And I go, okay, yeah, I'm grateful for my son. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for my yard. Okay. It's logical. But if I sit down and I close my eyes, which you don't have to do right now, and I feel it, and I sit down and I think about moments, the moment that I'm grateful for my son. You know, I think about when he was playing on my back this morning and, you know, he reminded me of me when I was 3 years old. You know, and I'm so glad that he's expressive and he's, you know, and even just that, I'm starting to feel different in my body. My biochemistry is changing. Literally. Humans are the only organism, to my knowledge, that can change their biochemistry with thought alone. And a lot of us don't do it. It's a hack. We should. So when you're thinking about what you want, embody it. Let's all take a moment to do this for a second. As corny as it sounds, and I want you to tell me if you feel any different. What you wrote down, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to sit there, and I want you just for a second to experience your goal being done. I want you to sit down, and maybe that means you standing in your closet, and you're reaching into the back behind all the clothes to get the ones that are back there. You pull them out. And for the first time, you're looking in your bathroom mirror, you see yourself and you're putting them on and they fit. But I'll give you a second to think about it. Whatever it is for you. Maybe it's walking down into work confident. Maybe it's going to a store, pulling anything else off the shelf. And you know it's going to look damn good. What is it for you? What compels you? Give you 10 seconds, maybe 20. I want you to try to embody it. What are the emotions you're going to experience? Is it pride? Is it joy? A sense of accomplishment? All right. Who feels who feels different? It's been 60 seconds. Who feels different now than when they just wrote down their goal a second ago? Anybody? Anyone feel any different? Jenny raised her hand. Thank you. I like it. So the fact of the matter is, we can create, we'll say, rituals that pull us more towards what we want. So next piece, what's your why? This is going to be the reason that pulls you. Emotions are the juice that pull us to where we want to go. So you got to ask yourself the question, what will this provide you? How will you feel? How will life be different when you achieve this goal? Take a second, write it down. Again, all of this work can feel like, oh, I don't have time for it. What am I doing? What's the action? But we know from past experience, the action isn't the thing we're missing. We need something else. I think it was Abraham Lincoln or some old guy that said, I don't know the fact, but they said, if I were to go chop down a tree, I would spend, and if I had 10 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend 9 hours sharpening the axe and 1 hour chopping the tree. This is true for, I think, for most goals, weight loss especially. The actions aren't that crazy. The thing is actually doing them consistently. And all of this stems from the psychology of it. You have to convince your brain it's worth it. That's part of it. The last piece is identifying key beliefs. What would you have to believe in order to achieve this goal? What would you have to believe in order to achieve this goal? What would you have to believe in order to achieve this goal? What are the beliefs that would serve you? Llewellyn said, I would have to believe that I am worth it. It's nice. Nat says, I am capable and resistant. Resilient. Pick one. Pick like your main belief. What is the main belief that you would have to have? What is the main belief that you would have to have in order to achieve this goal? Once you have that belief, every belief is only as strong as the legs that support it. Because we can have a belief, and it's a belief, but like, it's so-so. And then you meet somebody who is convicted. People call them stubborn. And one of the reasons they're stubborn is because they have such solid structures to support that belief. So let's take a moment really quick. What evidence do you have to support that belief that you can do anything you set your mind to, if that's yours? You know, how we support that is pretty simple. Maybe it's, well, when did I set my mind to something in the past and follow through? You're creating evidence for that belief. You write it down, you be specific. Sarah says, I've done hard things before and I've proved to myself if I stay determined, I will get it. Cool. What were those hard things? Why did you overcome those? Jenny says, I have resources. Now I need to use it. Cool. Let's try to find the most empowering belief we can. Bridget says, well, heck, I survived nursing school. I got my dream job. Yes. Fantastic. I've gotten myself built up in the past when I was knocked down. Beautiful. What's the evidence to support that? I can do anything I set my mind to. Yes. What's the evidence? What are things that you set your mind to in the past and you won? Most people here are nurses. So like, there it is. That's a huge one. Joellen says, I'd have to believe I am worth it. First off, Danielle beat me to it, but I promise you that you are. What would we have to, what's the evidence to support that you are worth it? Well, I think one that we can all relate to is that we're alive. Regardless of your religious beliefs, whether you believe in a God or universe or really anything, something loved you enough to give you life. You didn't have to work for the heart beating in your chest. You just have it. There's a love that was given to you far before you could ever even conceptualize it. And that's not me coming from a religious or spiritual perspective. That's just the facts. They say the odds of being born are 1 in trillions. Winning the US lottery is 1 in billions. You've already won. You're alive. You won the most intense lottery that the universe has ever created, potentially. So these are the types of things that you want to be able to find for yourself. What is the truth? What is something that is actually supporting this belief that is going to get you where you want to get to? All right, let's keep going. Now, we're not going to spend too much time on this because we're already running close to the end, but we want to leverage pain. So far, we've been talking about pleasure and the good stuff to focus on. Now, pain is a tool. If I were to ask you, can you change somebody that does not want to be changed? Who thinks you can? Who thinks you can? So this is the funny thing. You actually can change someone that doesn't want to be changed. Funny. The way you do it is you find the right leverage. Think about it. Who's ever, known somebody that has, essentially gone their whole life, not be unhealthy, out of shape, and it doesn't always happen, but they have a huge health crisis, heart attack, double bypass. They were revived 3 times on the table. And they don't want to exercise, but guess what? Now they're going to change. But why are they going to change? Because they have the right leverage. If you can connect enough pain to where you are, to your past, and to your future, if you do not change, I guarantee you will change. In that moment, you will change. You will feel extremely motivated. The key is not letting it go away. Because a lot of us don't want to focus on the pain because it hurts. But it can be a useful way to motivate, at least in the beginning. This is why on the calls, like all of you had an intro call, if you're an existing client. And on that intro call, what are some of the things that we're asking? Okay, what do you want? What's this going to do for you? Okay, why does this have to be now? If you don't do this, what does this mean? 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, played out. And what the brain is forced to do is come out with the pain now, in the past, and in the future. We have all this pleasure of the goal that we want. It's crystal clear. And now you have to take action because you're compelled. The beauty is you don't need me on a call with you every single day to do that. You can actually do it to yourself. Now, don't get me wrong. We're here to support it. But these are things that are really powerful if especially with something that's extremely important to you that we've yet to break through. So with this, I want you to ask yourself and just write down the answers to some of these questions. If you don't make this change, what will happen in your life? How will you feel? What will you experience in 2 years? What will you experience in 5 years? What will you experience in 20 years? And what are you currently experiencing? We're only going to do this for a minute, but write it down real quick. What is the pain we will experience? Human beings will always work harder to stay away from pain than we will to go towards pleasure. It's a useful tool. Useful tool. We'll give us another 30 seconds here. Feel free to put it in the chat. We've got Aubrey, who says, can't do the things I want to and used to enjoy. Self-confidence may disappear, would cause health to decline. Weight gain, no pleasure in life. Jenny says, gaining the weight back that I've already lost and maintained. Bridget says, decreased mobility. Spring says, live a shorter life. Michelle says, poor bone density and sarcopenia. So all these things, we want them to try to get as deep as we can with pain. So the same with pleasure, we have to get specific. The easiest way to get specific, if you've ever met a 3-year-old, like I have right now, is you pull the thread. You ask why. So what I would probably say to you, Michelle, is, okay, poor bone density and sarcopenia. Okay, that's painful, but what's more painful? Well, what's going to happen if you get that? Well, then I could be at risk for I don't know, a hip fracture going down the stairs. Okay, and then what happens? Well, now I'm stuck in a wheelchair. Okay, then what happens? Well, then I'm depressed all the time because now I can't move my body in the way that I like. Then what happens? Well, I have other people that are forced to take care of me that probably don't want to because they want to go live their own lives. Then what happens? Then I'm filled with guilt and I feel terrible every single day. Then what happens, right? And you get what I'm talking about, where you can make the pain so intense that you just, I'm going to go for a run right now, right? Joking to a degree, but you get what I'm talking about. So don't settle for the surface. I'll live a shorter life, okay? That's up here. I'll live a shorter life. So what? Well, if I live a shorter life, that means I won't be able to see my grandkids grow up. Okay, well, let's quantify this. What's shorter? Because that's so general. How long do you think you're going to live right now? I think I'll live till I'm 80, 85, 90. Great. If you don't do this, how old are you going to live to? I don't know, 70. So you're going to lose 10 years. What are you going to miss out on? Well, I'm going to miss out on, I don't know, my grandkids. So you're going to miss out of the best years of their life from age 2 to 12, potentially. Yes. And what does that mean? What's the pain attached to that? Well, I won't be able to be there for them. And what does that mean? And you can just see how we can go deeper and deeper and deeper into pain to get to the point that, whoa, now we're pulled. Is this making sense? We do the same thing with pleasure, because I promise you, emotional pull comes from depth, not from width, not from the surface. If you stay on the surface, you'll never feel emotionally pulled to do anything. You have to go deep, and you go deep by continuing to pull the thread. Why? 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 What will this cause? Why is this painful or pleasurable? Right? I don't want to end on a sad note, so I'll pull it back really quick. Same thing is true for positive. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to lose weight? Oh, confidence. That's the surface. What will more confidence do for you? Well, it will allow me to feel better in my own skin. Great. Why will that help you? Well, now when I leave the house, I won't be thinking that everyone's judging me. And what will that do for you? I think for the first time in my life, my adult life, I'll have peace of mind. Okay, and what will that give you? Probably make me happier. Great. And when you're happier, how do you show up? Well, I'd probably be friendlier. I'd probably be more outgoing. And then what does that mean? Well, I'll probably want to spend more time with my kids. And what does that mean? Well, they'll look at me as a better mom. And what does that mean? Well, that means that I'm a better mom and I'm more fulfilled. What does that mean? Right. And you just keep going until you create so much reason and emotional pull that there's just no stopping anytime soon because you're pulled. This is a lot of what I talk about with being emotionally pulled towards your goals. Is this making sense? How we can go on the surface and go deep? Nice. Does anyone have I'm curious, does anyone have like a strong emotional pull towards their goals? I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so I can see more of you. Does anyone have like a strong emotional pull that they'd be willing to share? That they'd be willing to share? Oh, hands went down. Yeah. Anyone have one? Anyone? Hand up. Anyone want it? Anyone want to share? I'm trying to see. There's a few of you here. All right, Kim's got one. All right, here we go. Kim, I'm going to ask you to unmute really quick. I want to hear it.
Really quick. I want to hear it.
Kim.
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Kim.
I just want to be able to can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be able to conceive naturally. I had 3 failed IVF and that takes a lot of toll on your body because of all the hormones and injections and stuff. So I just want to be able to be healthy enough at the tender age of 41 to be able to conceive naturally and host a healthy baby to term.
That is absolutely
beautiful.
And that's as real and raw as it can get.
No, that's fantastic. So I'm hearing a little bit of feedback, so we'll go back and forth real quick. I'm curious, why is that so important to you? Oh, sorry, you muted.
What is it unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay. Because when I talk to God, there's really only 2 things that I really wanted on this side of heaven, and that was to be a wife and to be
I love that. I love it. I love
a
it. Very nice.
biological mother. I mentor a lot of people, but I want to be a biological mother. Like those are 2 strong desires I have. I want to
Yes,
be able to do that. That's just what I believe on purpose to do.
I love it. Let's give her, I know they won't be able to hear you, but let's give her some energy. Let's give her a hand. Yeah. Look at all those hands clapping. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate you. Thank you. So with that, let me share that screen again. We'll keep the party rolling. All right. So with that in mind, let's keep moving. There's one more principle I want to talk about, or maybe 1 or 2 more principles. We're going to go through this really quick. We're about to speed read, so buckle up. There's 3 spheres of life that I really like to think about. And the 3 spheres are self, work, and relationships. Now, you'll notice that I've written down 33 hours in each is well balanced. But you say, well, hold on a sec. That math doesn't make any sense because there's 168 hours in a week. Well, the way that I have approached my adult life is I only have 100 hours of waking. That's it. That's all I have. Everything else is already taken from me. It's the same way of thinking that, well, there's 36 hours in a day, but I only have 24. But you say, but there isn't 36 hours in a day. Exactly. You only have 24. I do the same thing. I only have 14 hours a day. Well, where's the other 10 hours go? That's my sleep window. And you say, well, I can't do that because of my life and all these things. Well, maybe it's time for a change. Maybe it's time to reprioritize because what you've been doing probably hasn't been getting you to where you want to get to. Now, if you're already sleeping really well, fantastic. And you've already been on this path for a while, yes, let's keep going. But I had a conversation with one of our clients, Marissa, last week, and she's been sleeping 5.5 hours because she feels that if she sleeps anymore, there's guilt around it. And what we were able to identify is that actually, when you sleep more, you're going to be able to give more to your kids. You're going to be able to give more to your family. You're going to be able to be way more. And for her, what's life about? Well, it's about living. It's about enjoying. It's about being a great mother. It's about serving others. And she's not doing that on 5.5 hours of sleep as well as she could, and she knew it. Since she's been sleeping 8 hours a night, essentially not even the extra time is gone now. She just sleeps 8 hours a night. That's just what it is. Everything in her life is starting to change. What she thought was a headwind, oh man, I don't know why I'm not motivated to work out. Sister, if I was sleeping 5 hours a night, you think I'd be working out? I don't got crazy good willpower. I don't have crazy good dedication. My body's rested. And the same can be true for you. We just have to prioritize it, right? So the 3 spheres of life, American culture typically goes over on work. And a lot of it is spent maybe in, again, relationships, taking care of others, especially if we're a mother, and we leave ourself to the wayside. Or we're doing self, but it's doing self in a very low energy way, scrolling on Facebook, and we look at that as a form of self-care. No, we need to level up our form of self. We need to be taking care of ourselves on a bigger level. One of the best things, again, is sleep. But again, this is just assuming you only have 14 hours a day. Now, if you don't sleep 8 hours a night, cool. You can put a little bit more towards work, as I'm sure you are. Super easy concept. If you want more motivation, you need clarity and certainty. That's what we just did. If you want to feel excited, if you want to feel pulled towards what you want, you have to know exactly what you want. You have to know exactly how you're going to get there. And then you have to believe that you're going to get there, which stems from beliefs, which is what we've already talked about. So I mentioned before that there was going to be archetypes. I've identified 3 main archetypes, and there's more, but we're just going to talk about 3, so it's super fast, super effective. There's the martyr, the wounded lioness, and the true mechanic. The martyr is somebody who, we all know from the word, tends to sacrifice themselves. The identifying traits are they sacrifice their own well-being for others, they sleep less than 8 hours a night, they lack motivation to exercise, cook, and eat well. An underlying belief that they may have is that sacrificing for others is how I'm worthy of love. Does anyone identify with that? We can go deeper, but we're not going to have a lot of time on this call. But all of our beliefs, our core beliefs, stem from childhood. And it's what we were rewarded from, right? I mean, we can even do this together really fast, 2 seconds. When you were a child, there is one parent you craved more love from. Now you might say, well, my dad wasn't there. Right. So it was probably your dad you craved more love from. Maybe it was your mom. Who did you crave love from more, your mom or your dad? Think about it. Then we can start to think, well, who did we have to be for that person? Who did we have to be to feel the love? Now you might say, well, I didn't have a mom or a dad. I was a foster child. Fair. Whoever your pseudo parents are then, your role models, the people who you crave love from the most, what did you have to do to be worthy of love? And the answer can usually describe a lot of, and always really, describe who you are today. Here's mine. When I was a kid, I wanted my dad's love more. My mom was awesome, super nurturing. My dad, always working, always stressed about money. So guess what I learned? Absence of money equals pain. That's why my dad couldn't spend time with me. So guess what I did went from, essentially 10 years old. I was the kid that would go to school with gum, chips, Pokemon cards, and I would try to sell them to people so I could make money. It was unconscious. I didn't know what I was doing. It's why when I was 17 years old, while going to school full time, I started personal training as a side hustle. And by the age of 19, I was making $100,000 a year working for myself as a personal trainer. It was why I started my gym when I was 22. Now, here's the good news. I turned it into something empowering. Once I identified all this, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm building from trauma. because we're either building from trauma or we're building from something more positive, right? Virtuous, if you will. And it turned into something beautiful, I will say. It turned into, I just want to serve. And I've lost myself along the way. Some of you even know recently that story, but I always find my way back now. The point of all this, just to say, you don't have to stay in that story. You don't have to stay in that belief. Now, if I had a limited time, we'd all be sharing right now. And we would probably be doing like a 1-hour intervention, going deep, digging in, and helping you realize that, this person that you craved love from the most actually just wanted you to be happy. And to be happy, we need to change our beliefs. But that's easier said than done. If we talk one-on-one or we meet one-on-one, that's some of the stuff we do together, if it applies. If not, no worries. Anyway, with that in mind, this person, their transformation path is sleep. Sounds crazy, but instilling a new belief of when I take care of others or when I sleep, I'm able to help others more. It helps if you're thinking about putting actions in place that are actually going to stick. The easiest thing to do instead of creating a new core belief, because those are sometimes harder to build because your whole personality is built on them. It's easier to just align a new belief with your core belief. Meaning, instead of shifting from this, I sacrifice, I take care of others and that makes me worthy of love. Instead of trying to change that, we just add, well, when I do sleep, I can take care of others more. And then we find the evidence to support that, which we all know is true, because when you sleep more, you can show up better, not just for your patients, but for your kids. You can be there, more present, more engaged. Your kids aren't going to remember that you spent 2 hours or 4 hours with them on a Wednesday night. What they will remember is how they felt when they were around you. You've probably heard the expression that people will never remember what you say, they'll remember how you made them feel. And your kids, your patients are the same way. If you want to make someone feel different, if you want to create, empowering moments and you want to help other people, you got to show up at your best. And you cannot, I don't care who you are, you cannot show up at your best at 5 hours of sleep. So it's like, why would we perform an action 5 hours of sleep on average? I'm saying, obviously, split shift, all that, you're getting 5 hours, then 12 hours, whatever. But an average of 5 hours a night, like, that's going to hurt us. That's going to hurt the people we love. That's going to hurt the patients. On the other side, if we just say, now I'm going to start sleeping, and then we put the actions in place to support it, we'll take care of ourselves, we'll take care of our kids, our family, and we'll take care of our patients better. Because this isn't about quantity, it's about quality. And who knows, a time in their life, maybe when they got back from vacation, they got so much done in the same amount of time. It's because you're rested. So we have to remember to rest. Super important. We'll talk about this really quick too. The wounded lioness. Essentially, the identifying traits are, we've tried everything, nothing has worked, hesitant to try anything new for more than a week or two because they don't want to get hurt again, but wants to find a solution. The underlying belief is that if I try again and fail, it's more pain. And then what does that say about me if I fail again? So the shift there has to be, it's impossible for me to fail. I'm playing an infinite game. This isn't about starting. This isn't about 2 weeks or 2 months. This is about the next 20 years. The only way I can fail is if I stop completely. Of course, we have to reinforce that, which we don't have time to do now. But it's easy to lose weight if I follow a low pain, pleasurable, high leverage action plan. The last one, which is super rare, is the true mechanic. This is just someone that needs to find the right strategy. But here's the truth. We're probably a little of both or a little of all three. But there's usually one archetype that we lean the most towards. The true mechanic has little or no past pain related to the goal. They don't know the best actions to maximize results. And they approach change with a problem-solving mindset, which is fine. And then they just need the actions, which is great. And we all can have a little bit of each. So if we're thinking about the foundation, we're just going to talk about this really quick because I recognize a lot of you guys here, a lot of you are clients, and I don't want to harp on some of these things, but I also just want to talk about it for those who do want foundational mechanical actions. And those are going to be sleep, protein, water. And maybe you're already doing it, but you're just losing momentum and you don't feel convinced on why you need sleep, protein, and water. Let me help you create some legs to support the belief about why you need these things. So let's start with sleep. I want you to imagine that there was a pill that could help you lose more fat, regulate your appetite, allow you to get sick less often, enhance your mood, reduce your stress, allow your mind to think clearer, make better decisions, allow you to enjoy exercise more, help more people, take care of your family, increase your motivation, have zero negative side effects, and it was free. Who's taking that pill? Zero negative side effects. I'm down in the whole thing. Just keep it coming, right? I'll take two. Take 2 bottles a day. Well, that's sleep. There was an NFL coach that went on record to say, if sleep was a performance-enhancing drug, it would be banned by every sports organization. A lot of us are using caffeine, but we all know that has a side effect. It's a short-term bump, but then it's like burning the candle, right? It's like we're borrowing tomorrow's energy, and then but then we feel bad tomorrow, so we take more caffeine. And then we borrow the next day's energy. And then we do it again and again and again and again until eventually, when we don't take caffeine, it's a scary day. But the key to essentially get ahead of all of that is great sleep. Now, there's 3 actions for better sleep that everybody can do. Number 1 is reduce blue light. Blue light stops melatonin production. It's the hormone that helps you fall asleep and stay asleep. So my recommendation to you, 3 hours before bed, reduce light or get rid of light. Okay, well, I'm on night shift nurse. Get blue blockers. Would you get on Amazon for $20? They block the blue spectrum of light, and get really good blackout curtains. And then also, eventually, I'd recommend day shift. But I'm not here to change your, I'm not here to force that. That's up to you. Second thing you do is journal your thoughts. So our brains are like computers. And I just want to say really quick, reducing light, that means TVs too. That means phones too. So like, ideally you turn it all off 90 minutes before bed, but you can turn down the lights, turn off the lights, only candlelight, warm light, red light, and that will help you start to produce that melatonin. Number 2 is journal your thoughts. Our brains are like computers. If you have trouble falling asleep, this is one of the easiest things you can do. And this is essentially just allowing you to close the tabs in your brain. Has anyone have trouble falling asleep? A little bit, right? I'm going to give you another action that's not written here too, that's helped a lot of our clients recently, and I'll put it in the chat. So it's to journal your thoughts. If we have too many tabs open, our brain just keeps cycling. By putting it down on paper, that's an opportunity for our brain to turn off. It's an opportunity to essentially say, okay, I'm putting it over here, because the brain will keep remembering it so that you don't forget. Because what is the brain trying to do? Protect you, always. It's trying to protect you from pain. If I forget this, it could lead to pain on some level. So let me keep doing it. Or if I don't take action on it, it will lead to pain. So writing it down can help. The last thing is electronic free. Of course, if we're stimulating the brain, even without blue light, and we're using blue blockers, even just constant dopamine, like swiping on your phone, that's dopamine. Your brain's lighting up. And if it's lighting up, you're not going to be tired. So a good alternative is talk to a friend or family member, take a relaxing bath, plan your tomorrow or your week, do a gratitude meditation. I had somebody say to me the other day, I can't plan my tomorrow or my week because I fall asleep doing it. Good. That's the point. You're supposed to get tired. So yes, like do that. I can't stay awake long enough. Good. The other thing I want to share with you guys too, because a lot of clients have been doing it recently, is Wim Hof breathing. If you've never heard of Wim Hof or you're unfamiliar, it's just a style of breathing that essentially takes your nervous system from a oversympathetic state, or we'll call it a sympathetic state, to a parasympathetic state. We're all in the healthcare. We all know that sympathetic is go, 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 go. Parasympathetic is rest and digest. If you want to sleep, you can't do it very well in a sympathetic state, if at all. And if you're waking up 3 hours after you go to sleep, it's because you get a little bit of sleep and then boom, you're back in sympathetic. So this is a way to shove you into parasympathetic. I've had clients that do this, and as they do it, they can't even make it through the 3 rounds that in total last 10 minutes simply because they fall asleep beforehand. So something to try. I will put it in the chat for you guys below in case you guys want to try it. I'm curious too. Let me know in the chat. Has anyone tried Wim Hof breathing? I'm curious if anyone here has tried it. All right. Let's get to the end here. Number 2 is protein. So there's many reasons that we want to focus on protein, but number 1 is you're going to stay fuller longer. And when we think about the psychology piece, we want to think about increase, not decrease. Many nurses struggle with emotional eating and also the inner rebel that can come out if you're like, don't eat that, don't eat that. So the way we approach everything is increase, don't decrease in the beginning. So you need to decide how you're going to get in the protein. Usually, we want to shoot for as a North Star about 0.75 times your goal weight in protein. So if you weigh 150, doesn't matter. You want to weigh 120 as an example. You want to shoot for about 90 grams of protein as a North Star, but don't start there. If you're getting in 30 grams a day, shoot for 50 to start. We don't need to, start at super high, crazy amounts. So take a moment. You can decide how I'm going to get in my protein. 1 ounce of protein is about 6 grams. 1 fist size is about 36 grams of protein. If you're looking for the easiest way to get to 80 grams of protein a day, it is by getting a Fairlife Core Elite protein shake, which this is not an affiliate link. You can get it anywhere. You can get it pretty much anywhere. 42 grams of protein, Target, Amazon, whatever. And then the other is just simply 1 fist size worth of protein at lunch or dinner. You're already at 80 grams. That is the easiest way to do it. Now, granted, what's probably optimal for a lot of us is going to be 100 to 120, but that's where we fill it in, or we just get 1 more serving of meat, or we add a couple other things in, whether it be some yogurt, some eggs, whatever it might be. You could do the protein bar and things like that, but usually I recommend that more for people who are just starting because we want to try to stick with whole foods. Last piece, water. The reason water is so important is number 1, it's going to keep you fuller longer, and it is going to drastically increase your energy. There was a study done a few years back where they tested 3 groups of people. And I believe it was at Stanford or Brown. And the 3 groups of people, they had people that were essentially the control, adequately hydrated, not drunk. They had a group that was mildly dehydrated. These are people that were essentially, what's the word? They were 0.5 to 1% lower in their average body weight. So it was water. And then you had the other group that was mildly intoxicated, slightly above the legal limit. They tested all 3 groups in a driving simulator. This is going to blow your mind, especially because as a nurse, you're dealing with people's lives. Guess what group performed the worst? You already know because, right, it's like the trick question. The group that was mildly dehydrated. If you were mildly dehydrated going to work, you may as well show up drunk. A little bit of a joke, but at the same time, it's a big difference. So make sure you are getting hydrated, not just for you. If you're the martyr, don't do it for you. Do it for them, right? You're going to be able to think clearer. You're going to make less mistakes, right? You're going to be there. Plus, you're just, do it for you. You're going to feel so much better. You're going to increase your energy. Your body is a huge degree of water, and everything's just going to function better. If you're looking for 3 simple actions to drink more water, have it available. The bigger container you have, the easier it is. I guarantee it. With a big spout. This is my spout. It's huge. Nice and wide. It's a gallon of water. I carry it around. You don't have to do that. They called me jugs in high school. You don't have to be that. But you can carry around 40 ounces. It will help you dramatically. Big spout, easy to drink. Number 2 is going to be alarms to drink. This is hit or miss for some people, but if you find yourself scattered just every direction and you just forget completely, set the alarms for a week or two, and then you can stop because you will start to feel thirsty. Right now, your body's an adaptation machine, right? It craves homeostasis. So if you aren't drinking a lot of water, you may not feel thirsty that often. I promise you, if you start drinking more water and then you stop, you're going to be thirsty. And then you don't need the alarms. The last piece of this is add flavoring. The flavoring will just help you be able to do it more. Of course, I believe the pros of drinking water are going to outweigh the cons of not or of the artificial sweeteners that you might get in the drink. So that is that from an action perspective. Whew, we made it. That was a lot of information. So what's next? These are the parting thoughts that I want to leave you guys with. We talked about a lot of mindset in the beginning. We talked about getting you into an empowered state. We talked about the importance of an empowered state and the importance of beliefs. This is helpful being on this call, but what's going to happen after 2 days? Without any new input, we just fall back into old habits. Why? Because our thinking didn't change. You see, we all know the results we want. We now know the actions that will start to get us there. But the reason we don't stay consistent with the actions is because our thinking is still stuck in the way that it's been. Our thinking are our beliefs about ourselves and what's possible. And those are usually positive or negative. So the way to change your thinking consistently is we have to change our input. I had a mentor growing up that said, every day stand guard at the door of your mind and feed it something good. If somebody came into your house right now and poured trash in your living room, you probably have something to say about it, right? You'd probably be like, what are you doing? And you'd probably be like, hey, I need you to pick that ish up, baby. What are you doing? But yet some of us actually allow people closest to us, coworkers, to pour garbage in our mind all day long. The worst part is a lot of us do it to ourselves. We pour garbage in our own carpet, the carpet of our mind. So whether you are trying to change a belief or stop the inner chatter that is saying something disempowering to you, the way you do that is you have to change your input. You change your input by listening to things that empower you. The easiest way that I found to do this is podcasts, YouTube videos. The reason that I created this podcast specifically was for that. So I just uploaded a new one. I didn't upload for a while, but I think there's over 92 30 to 1 minute, 1 hour episodes in here that you can just absolutely condition your mind with, that are going to be all empowering. Some will, have mechanics in them, and you'll actually learn more mechanical things like 5 counterintuitive ways to lose weight, or, underrated keys to sustainable change, 5 ways to break out of a rut. But in between all of those things are reinforcing what you already know to be true about yourself, which is that you are worthy, that you can do this, right? All these actions. So what I want you to write down really quick is I want you to choose what's your input, because this isn't just going to continue, right? And we're only really together for 7 days. So we have to decide what is the thing that is going to stick with us. And I want you to write it down, not just what you're going to listen to, but when. My biggest invitation to you is do it when you would be doing menial tasks. You don't need to sit down with a pen and paper like you are right now every day. No one's got time for that. Especially if you're sleeping, 100 hours a week or whatever, 60 hours a week, 68 hours a week, whatever it is. So my recommendation to you is do it when you're driving. Do it, have it play in the shower, when you're getting ready in the morning, when you're making dinner, whatever it is, as long as it doesn't take away from being with your family. But I promise you that even 1 hour, 2 hours of this a day, consuming content that empowers you, that reminds you why you're doing this, your thinking will start to change. Because right now your thinking is the record player that exists in your mind. And that's what we're trying to change. Who's with me on that? Does that make sense? Cool. So write down. I'll share these in the chat in case you care to listen to this. Of course, I'm going to be biased. If you guys have any that are good too, you can put them in here. These are also on YouTube as well. Awesome. Let me just close this. Bam, bam. Nice. Awesome. With that in mind, we are done. Whew, man. Give yourself a round of applause. You survived. This was supposed to be an hour and it's lasted an hour and a half. But we're there. So what's going to happen from here? If you're not in our app yet, we're going to get you into the app. We're going to divide you into groups so that you can have some smaller groups where you guys can get to know each other a little bit, share more of your story, and be able to, there's going to be daily prompts and daily engagement. It's going to come up to you guys, come down to you, how much you guys are going to engage, which is going to determine how much you get out of this. Right? It's a free challenge. So it's easy to say like, oh, you know, whatever, it's free. I don't really have to show up. Or you can look at it as, all right, this has the power to transform my life. Act as if you paid $1,000 for it and show up. And by showing up, you're going to get more out of it. So